After the events of the BLUELOCK vs U-20 match, Jinpachi Ego was given full control of the Japan team and is able to put anyone he desires onto it. I mean, that's what BLUELOCK's all about after all, creating the best U-20 Japanese soccer team to win the World Cup. But after reading all of the BLUELOCK manga, it seems pretty clear to me that some players who many people love just won't make the cut. So today I'm going to be going over all of the characters who I think will and will not make the cut for the U-20 team. So obviously, spoilers for the BLUELOCK manga if you are not caught up, please click off the video right now. Alright, to start, let's look at Bastard Munchan. On the team, there's Isagi, Kunigami, Yukimiya, Corona, Gagamaru, Hiyori, Raichi, Igaguri, Neru, and Kiora. While looking at these players, I think we can eliminate 3 off the bat, being Igaguri, Neru, and Kiora. Kiora, we haven't seen him do really anything, and Neru is fast, but he hasn't played since the U-20 match, and Igaguri just isn't good. Next to eliminate are Corona and Raichi. Now, as much as I love both of these characters, it's unlikely that they will play. Raichi is a defensive midfielder, and while he is called the Dual King, using him instead of someone like Karasu, who's a great defensive midfielder in the U-20 game, seems unlikely, as Raichi now just isn't up to snuff with him. And for Corona, while he is a great anchor and passing duo for Isagi, shown with their Planet Hotline, that's all that Corona can really do. In the U-20 match with players like Bachara, Hiyori, and Reo, who are great at sending passes to players, it's unlikely that Corona would be used for one of those slots. And lastly is Hiyori. Hiyori's passes are said to be as good as Itoshi Sai's. However, with Reo's training to be a mashup of both Sai and Rin, which gives him both incredible dribbling skills, spin shooting, and a much better passing rate, he outperforms Hiyori at his only skill. Now, there are only 2 players here who I am confident in saying will play for the U-20 match, while there are 2 that are maybe at best. The maybes being Yukimiya and Kunigami. Yukimiya's new shooting technique, Sword Screw, is definitely a helpful asset to his arsenal. However, he hasn't really improved much as a player overall with his dribbling or strength or anything else. A single new shooting technique is helpful, but it isn't a drastic improvement. And while his dribbling is good, it just doesn't compare to Bachara's new style. And with Kunigami, his training to become an ambidextrous shooter and improve strength are helpful assets, but recently in the new Egoist League, we've yet to see him really do anything since the Barca match, besides stealing Isagi's goals. I mean, yeah, he got the ball in the Ubers match, but then he lost it very soon after. But the definite players for the U-20 match are Isagi and Gagamaru. Gagamaru being the best goalie in BLUELOCK is a no-brainer, and Isagi being almost on the level of a new Gen 11 player with the exact same vision that allows him to take advantage of his high-functioning brain and eyes is an incredible asset for a game. Oh yeah, he's also the main character, so. But yeah, that's everyone from Bastard Munchan. So the players who have the best chance of being on the U-20 team from Bastard Munchan are Isagi and Gagamaru, with Yukimiya and Kunigami as follow-ups. Next, let's go to Barca. On Barca's team, we have Bachara, Otoya, Haru, Teru, Moroku, Shizuka, Aiki, Tetsu, and Yutsuki. Now I'm being totally honest with you here. Besides Otoya and Bachara, I don't know who the fuck these dudes are. I had to look up half these dudes because I had no idea who they were. But besides from the 2 mentioned before, they have no game time, so they definitely didn't make the cut. But looking at Otoya and Bachara, we could pick both, right? Yeah, we could, but the only person in my opinion who's qualified is Bachara. While Otoya's off-the-ball movements are definitely good, there's nothing specifically special about them, because they are just that, off-the-ball movements. Those movements are kind of just standard for the players who would want to be on the U-20 team. It's just not a very good weapon, with ones like dribbling or speed. Having a weapon that lets you get into position isn't the best for the World Cup when everyone else is going to essentially be doing that. So the only player from Barca qualified to be in the U-20 team, in my opinion, is Meguru Bachara. Alright, now on to Manchan City. Manchan City's team consists of Chigiri, Nagi, Reo, Wanima, Hajime, Reiju, Taiga, Kazuma, and Kaoru. Manchan is also the same as Barca, where the only real players who got attention were Chigiri, Nagi, and Reo. So let's just kick everyone else off. Looking at this lineup, there's only 2 that I believe would be beneficial for a U-20 team, that being Chigiri and Reo. Chigiri's insane speed, with him being the fastest in BLUELOCK, is an incredibly helpful weapon for the team. We've seen how Chigiri uses his speed to not only score offensively or assist offensively, like in the U-20 match or the Manchan City vs Bastard Munchan match, but also use his speed defensively, like in the Rin vs Isagi 4v4 second selection match, where Isagi had Chigiri use his speed to snuff out Bachara's rhythm. And if positioned on the left wing like he was in the Manchan City vs Bastard Munchan match, he could absolutely dominate the left side with his speed and mock cut-ins. but also he could set up passes for characters like Isagi who use a direct shot with their right leg. And with his golden zone formula, he said rather than shooting, he actually passes to where he wants to score. Meaning to get such accurate shots, his passing must have improved as well, which is a much more viable option for a player on the field. And with Ryo, my reasoning is fairly obvious. I mean, he's a fusion of both Rin and Sai, so his passing and his shooting must have improved by a lot. But when you look at his copying ability, it's even better. Ryo would become the new Joker for his team in the same way that Burū was in the original match. However, rather than being a Joker to flip the scales, Ryo would just adjust them to better suit the Japanese team's situation. Because we haven't just seen him copy Sai and Rin, whose weapons can be replicated through intense practice, we've also seen him copy characters like Nue, whose strong core comes from his physical strength, or Nagi's tap lift into a jumping turn shot, which was created through Nagi's insane talent. Speaking of him, why not Nagi? He's one of the best players in the league. And you're right, he is. For now at least. We see Ego talk about Nagi after the revolver volley goal and how it could have disastrous consequences for someone so premature as a striker like Nagi. And after the match with Ryo and Nagi, Nagi mentions that he doesn't see himself being able to become the best anymore. And in this panel, we see Nagi's aura kind of disintegrate, showing that his ego is slowly vanishing away. But despite all of this, I think he will probably still be put in. Mostly due to fan service by the world, as everyone loves Nagi and gave him the title of Manchan's ace. So from Manchan City, the players who will most likely join the U20 team are Chigiri and Ryo, with a maybe on Nagi. Next up is Ubers, and for their team they have Burū, Aiku, Nico, Aryu, Sendo, Gen, Shingen, Kyohei, and Yukio. Now just like the other teams, Yukio, Gen, Kyohei, and Shingen can go, because again, nothing from them. But after looking up the current lineups of players, I'd also have to say that Sendo must go. I mean, while Sendo is a decent forward, BLUELOCK is all about making the best striker or the best forward. And with players like Isagi, Rin, Burū, Sendo was kinda lacking. And honestly, same with Aryu. Aryu's weapon is just his long limbs that help with receiving and jumping. He hasn't improved very much since we saw him in the second selection 4v4 match. His jumps aren't higher and his limbs aren't longer. Aryu is arguably the same as he was before. But see, that's the thing about Ubers. Everyone seems so much better because of the formula created by Snuffy focused on Burū. In the U20 team, it'll be completely different. So that's why players like Aryu and Sendo, who seem much better now than before, appear that way. Speaking of Burū, I'm actually 50-50 on whether or not he's going to be on the team. Ubers formulated their whole game plan around Burū, which is why he was able to use his Predator Eye how he is. But in a U20 match, it's unlikely that the U20 team will be able to recreate that play format for him. So he can't really use it the same way that he currently is. So if he improves his vision in some way, then maybe he has a shot of playing. But right now, I'm kind of 50-50. But for certain, there are two players who will be on the team. That's Aiku and Nico. Aiku and Nico are two of the most solid defenders that we've seen in the series. Both possessing metavision, they're a solid wall for defense. As long as they start training and practicing using it, they would be a very solid duo on the defensive line. It also completes the metavision hierarchy in a way. Isagi with metavision up front, Ryo in the middle, and Aiku and Nico on the defensive line. A team that no matter where you are on the field, you will be facing someone with metavision. So from Ubers, the players who will most likely join the U20 team are Aiku, Nico, and maybe Burū. Now for PXG, it's kinda hard to say since we haven't really seen them play yet, but for PXG's team, we have Rin, Shido, Tokimitsu, Karasu, Nanase, Haruhiko, Akira, and Kento. And like the other ones, Haruhiko, Akira, and Kento, be gone, because I don't know who you are. Next to get removed is probably going to be Nanase, because overall, he isn't really the best player, at least compared to everyone else on his team. But now here's the big what if. If Tokimitsu gains confidence, he would be the most definite best player on that team and would most definitely play on the U20 team. I mean, even with his anxious playstyle before, he was able to overpower Burū and beat Bachara in a one-on-one duel. But if he hasn't, then it's still a maybe, honestly. Now for Rin and Shido. Assuming Loki didn't get those two to work together, and Shido is the same as he was before, then Shido would definitely not be on the U20 team. However, if he did, it would probably be a toss-up between Rin and Shido. Because Rin was able to link up with people like Isagi and Nagi to score goals. Hell, even when he was pissed and in flow state, he still passed to Isagi because he knew he would pass back. But the only person that Shido could actually link up with was Sai. And assuming that Sai isn't going to be playing for the U20 team, he doesn't really have anyone to link up to. Except for Reo. With Reo now being able to give passes like Sai can, he could link up with Shido if Loki was able to talk some sense into him. But if not, Shido stays back. And if he does, it would either be him or Lin that would join the team. And lastly is Karasu. Karasu is definitely making it. I mean, he's got the best ball handling on the field and was a solid defensive midfielder. So from PXG, the players who have the highest chance of being on the team are Karasu, Rin or Shido, and possibly Tokimitsu. And that's everybody. But what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me or do you disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe for more content just like this.
Poppy stepping,